Zoun 스페셜 수 아프리카 TV 프레이업 스튜디오 라이브 2020 GSL 시즌 2 코드 S The Coming Storm.
Hey everybody, we're back, and it's time for the losers match here of the GSL Codas. This means our first player to be eliminated out of the 24 players we started with. We'll find out who that'll be. It'll either be a Protoss or a Zerg, either Zoun or soO.
Yeah, so I think obviously soO is a gigantic favorite going into this, but he doesn't want to map today, Tasteless, if that means anything.
We'll see. I mean, I thought Special played pretty well. I don't know how Zoun is going to fare against a Zerg like soO. It'll be interesting. I guess the first game will give us a much better idea, but probably. I'm not sure. I mean, I think soO's supposed to win this, right? But that's kind of what you say when you have a player that's accomplished against somebody this new.
Yeah. Wearing a mask now. Probably from that bloody nose Special game him. All right. Ice and Trome first. Everdream Submarine.
Wow, look at that. Everdream Submarine.
The Everdream Submarine, all right. Yeah, I don't know. I just want to see the way Zoun wants to approach this.
Let's hop into it. Don't forget the winner will go on to the final match. That'll be up against Special, as we have 3 players in Group A and only 1 can move on to the round of 16 in the GSL Code S.
경기가 준비되었다. 한번 시작해 볼까? 알파 X 조은 박한솔. 아프리카 프릭스 수 어윤수.
So we're going to get our PVZ here. First one for this season.
Yeah, I guess everything is the first for the season, isn't it? We've got a PvP, a TVZ, a TVP, and now a ZVP?
You know,
wow.
We had a little bit of time off, but it's enough time for metas to change and for people to
new map,
develop.
New patch.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
so
definitely.
Let's see how PVZ's looking here as we go into Season 2 at GSL. I think in years to come, our GSLs will be more evenly spaced out, but...
Oh, yeah, you're probably right about that.
We'll probably be starting on...
Because we're on this 3-year EPT thing right now, right? So probably things will start up at a reasonable pace after Katowice next year, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think we're going to be more streamlined, because this one we started late, and then we squished this GSL together right after the one that we finished. Normally we have, I want to say, like 4 or 5 weeks off. This time we had, I think, a little bit under 2. Right?
Oh, between seasons, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, it was like 13 days or something.
Yeah, so we came back right away. But usually we have them spaced out, so it's kind of even throughout the year. But yeah, anyways.
But we don't have to finish before BlizzCon anymore, which is kind of nice. It can go deeper into the year.
That's right.
Everything in esports is always last second. It'd be nice to have a couple
super
years
annoying.
Where it's not.
Yeah, it's super not usually thinking big picture.
It's just always the case, though.
Yeah.
It's like all the events have FOMO. Got to be very careful about when it's when it gets announced.
Well, you saw with CS:GO events having to stop that suddenly all these players were feeling much more mentally healthy. CS:GO just had a never-ending event chain. Just went on forever.
Yeah. Have people like publicly said stuff about that? Or?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff being said about it.
That's interesting.
You need to have off seasons.
Yeah, I do wonder how this will all affect everything in the future.
Yeah, I think it's good to have stuff going on for a chunk of the year, but everybody needs to have time off.
Well, we've had off seasons in StarCraft for a long time now.
Yeah, it's one of the good things about StarCraft.
Yeah, it is kind of nice. It makes it very hype when it all comes back. At
Yeah,
the
it's-
beginning
it's-
of the new year of games, like that's normally in like February, I think we normally
Right.
start. It's always like, oh yeah, all
Here we
right.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
been
back.
a couple months.
Well, it's
3
important
months or
because you
something.
need to have, you know, the players a lot of times they're traveling a lot. They need to have a time where they go back and see their family. Everybody just should take a break, right? I mean, this is one of the reasons why, you know, sometime in the year there's a scheduled period where there's a holiday, or an elongated holiday, because that's what people need. They need some enforced break, right, to get a reset so they can go back to doing what they're doing. So this game, Zoun is going to come here with Warp Prism and Adept.
Yes.
We have the Glaives upgrade being made.
Yeah, a very popular build. We'll see what his follow-up is out of it,
Right.
because that's kind of the important part where things can really change. You always have to be really wary of something like this occurring, because obviously the DT follow-up was very popular for a while. The thing is, I think that soO, of all people, will be someone who's really played against this a lot. You know, this is kind of Zest kind of reinvented this style,
Right.
and it was right around Katowice.
Yeah. And soO definitely somebody who was able to handle that. So let's see. I mean, when you go for Adepts like this, there's not a lot of other infrastructure you're investing in. I mean, tech is a lot of times halted, or at least staggered pretty heavily, because you're really pouring all your income into trying to, A, get all these Adepts out with the right upgrades, but then B, you're trying to look for a position where you can take a fight that's way stronger for you. It's why we see the Lings right-clicked onto the center Adept shade. We see the Queens staying out in the front so that the Adepts can't move anywhere else.
It's a tricky thing.
And this was actually the hardest thing for all players to deal with when Legacy of the Void first came out many, many years ago. Was just, it's hard because the Adept was such a new unit. Nobody knew how to handle its movement. But it seems with each passing year, people are getting better and better at handling it.
Well, it's actually turned into this very interesting positional play with this build specifically, where very oftentimes what occurs is the Adepts continue to shade, and if the Zerg actually reacts correctly, they never finish. You never finish even one time, because if you lose the Adepts, you lose the game.
Right.
And if they don't mirror it, they lose the game. So it's kind of like this crazy standoff, right? It's very much a standoff between the Adepts and all the Zerg units.
Right.
And then eventually we start hitting critical masses where it's like, okay, it's time to back up.
Yeah. That's enough.
Yeah.
Okay, he might have gotten the fight he wants to take here. Looping around that hatchery here. The Adepts can then retreat behind the minerals, getting a better surface area advantage here. And their next point of attack is probably going to be up here in the north at the second base location. No, he cancels. Meanwhile, Stalker's dropping it over here. Is he going to warp in more Adepts there as well? By the way, 8 drones killed in this process. The rest of the Adepts will be cleaned up.
Is that enough?
Not sure it is.
So
57 workers.
Yeah, 9 drones killed. Like, I guess he got a lot of Lings with that. He got a couple Queens. But, yeah, well, he has 4 sentries at home and an Immortal, right? And if he just keeps chronoing Immortals, I don't think you're going to die to a counter push. So maybe that was enough. I do like this play, by the way. Just going around with the Prism with Stalkers, picking stuff off. It's a very cool type of harassment.
Yeah, it's one we've seen in the past off and on, but I think it's good, yeah. Now, the setup here is for Protoss to maybe go for a push. Protoss to get their 3rd up safely. Immortals are being made here. You know, you have to make a lot of Roaches. Oh, good snipe on that Observer. You have to make a lot of Immortals when you see the Roaches come out. So the Adepts set this up nicely, because the Roaches try to stop the Adepts, but then you have all these units that are going to be weak against the Immortals, especially with force fields and everything else later on.
Yeah, and you see a lot of hallucinations flying out, scouting the Zerg side of the map as well here. A lot of that is looking for a Spire. You know, you have to get Blink when you do the Adept build, because Mutas can just kill you.
Yeah.
But you don't want to just sit there making a million billion Stalkers if you don't have to. So sending out those hallucinations can help you kind of decide on that.
So we have Ravagers coming into play here. Now Zerg basically knows its role in the matchup right now in this game is you need to be ready for the push. Protoss almost always has to end the game by pushing the Zerg and killing them. There's not really like some kind of Protoss outlast game. you know, where you
Yeah.
just sort of stay in the game long enough that Zerg doesn't have options. So the Protoss is always looking for when and where to end the game. And that's why Protosses have become so masterful at being deceptive and being confusing. By the way, these Lings are killing off a lot of Adepts. This is a great trade here for soO.
By the way, I gotta say, I like some of these strategic adjustments on targeting that we've seen today.
Yeah.
Where occasionally harassment will come in and it will target down a shield battery.
Yeah.
You know, with the new battery overcharge, it's like, that's something to take into consideration. It might be worthwhile if the battery's really well placed to just get rid of it.
Yeah, that's actually a smart point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I like that type of adjustment.
Now, it
Good
seems like
force fields.
after that attack, Zerg's decided that there's been enough damage dealt, and especially with the War Prism not here, the Zerg is really, look at this, he's pushing the army apart here. Most of the Immortals are just at the top here.
We see that overcharge take place, but he actually does pick out that battery. That is a lot of Ravagers right there.
Oh man, he should really go for that Cybernetic Score too.
That would be a good
huge
pickup,
interruption.
yeah. There's actually no charge, so that would be, like, Zods are very useless right now.
Yeah, I actually think he probably should have gone for that over the gateway there, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I agree.
well, as long as the Immortals are alive, Protoss has a shot, but you know, with no War Prism in the mix, it's a little bit harder to perfectly micro these Immortals away. That being said, the position overall is less than ideal for the Zerg, and with just a few Ravagers remaining here, ouch. He's going to go ahead and run for it.
Yeah, I like this little bit of Stalker chase coming up. soO comes back with those Lings and forces it back. The Hive is going to be finishing up shortly here. Also some Corruptors joining the fray.
Yeah, the Corruptors are going to be very helpful against the Colossus.
And of course we see Banelings being made. He did get Baneling speed, right?
I didn't see, actually. I don't
really
know.
against these
It would
Stalker
make sense.
Colossus armies, if you have a big economy, speed Banelings is like,
Well,
it's the best thing you can do.
There's no reason to not have speed if you're going to be making a lot and we're this late into the game, right? So
Yeah, I would say so.
So if he
I'd be
either has
surprised
it
if
or
he
he's going to
didn't.
get it right away. But the fact that he's
He
making
has
this
to have
many
it.
Banelings tells me he's going to attack here. So he probably just has it. We'll see if there's a Baneling rolling on screen here in a second.
A lot of Colossus being made right now. I'm nervous for Zoun. You know, this is... It feels like this army is really well situated to kill his army. It's hard to imagine Stalker Colossus stopping this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he
an
just
immediate
canceled
cancel. Now we have some Adepts coming in here. If this attack here by soO doesn't do much damage, the drone's killed over here by the small Adept grass. It's going to be really nice. And in fact, he's not finished. He's far from it. He's going to keep targeting down these drones. Okay, but the Banelings coming in here might even this out almost immediately.
Yeah, gets 9 probes, not too bad. All right, the Greater Spire is on the way here. It's kind of interesting to add the Greater Spire into this right now. Do you like that? I feel
Well-
like this army can beat that, but with that many Banelings,
I think
no.
the Greater Spire is going to be for after this army's been used.
Yeah, you
There's
might
going to
right
be a
about
bunch of
that,
Corruptors left over. That's going to be the last thing to be killed in the fight. And so he just has the Corruptors up here. And
Yeah.
then
Oh my God.
he's going to take what he can take and then probably go back and make Broodlords because the last Colossus should be picked off here. More Banelings are going to come in here. I don't even know if we're going to need to have Broodlords in this
No,
game.
probably not.
Wow.
But you see just how strong Banelings can be against this composition.
You know, the harass from Zoun is pretty good, but you know, if these attacks keep coming in here and there's no economy for Zoun at all, I mean, these drones will be remade here by soO, and soO will probably just win this game.
Definitely looks that way, right? He doesn't have a fourth base up,
Right.
and he doesn't have any long-term units, really. He has 2 Immortals, and that's it. Right? It's not like we have High Templars that have been sitting here gaining value.
Yeah.
No Sentries remain. We don't have any Archons. You know, it's Gateway units and 2 Immortals. This is not a winning position for Zoun. Now you got me saying his name wrong. God. I just called
Oh
him
my gosh.
Zoun. You've called him Shaun. You've
Zoun.
called him Zoun. You've called him
Zoomers.
Zumba Bapa Whoop. Every which thing.
I'm not used to his name yet, Artos.
No.
I normally only have to say about 40 pro gamer names.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
true.
used to having new ones here.
Yeah, I remember that first year
We have
you were
this-
calling him Cereal all the time. You're like, the Finnish Zerg Cereal. I'm like,
You know what's
what?
funny is that Korean casters are having a hard time with the new pro gamer in our tournament, Estrella.
Oh my
This
God,
is
yeah.
a nightmare in our meeting rooms here as
Yeah.
they're saying stuff. They're like,
Astria?
Astria? Astra?
I can't even remember some
Istra?
of the
Yeah.
ways they tried to say it, but it was like way off.
And I'm like, no, try saying the word Australia, but then as if your tongue was numb. You have his name right.
Then suddenly they try it and they sound just like Maynard.
So, another attack coming out here. As we were talking about earlier, those leftover corruptors are made into broodlords now that the colossi is no longer a threat. Once you win a fight and there's corruptors out and all the colossi are dead, you can't actually make the colossi again.
Oh,
you're
that's
just,
true, yeah.
Yeah, you're just participating in a race you've already
lost.
Yeah. And so then this allows the Zerg to then go to the next step in development. And this has mostly been like one of those cartoon bully versus the victim fight where the guy is holding the little kid's head back with his hand and the kid's swinging his fist at him, but his arms aren't long enough so he can't reach him.
It has been a little bit. Zoun had like an okay early mid game with the adepts. He like wasn't perfect, but he had enough to defend afterwards. But now you just see it's like, yeah, Baneling's on move command, Zergling's on attack move. This is, well, you know what? This little attack is doing nice. But how do you stop those broods? See the broods flying back through the center? Very slowly.
Yep.
That's how you do it. You lose your ground army and pick up the rest in the prism. Those broods don't do anything against that.
So Protoss is trying to take a fourth again here in the upper left. But I think we're just at the point of no return here. We're seeing fights happen, but at this point in time, it's really just the Zerg smothering the Protoss' army. You know, over time, the numbers get less and less and less. Zerg is even able to trade inefficiently and pretty much come out on top.
Yeah.
GG.
All right. So soO beats Zoun pretty clearly there in game number 1. Didn't feel like Zoun really ever had a winning time or anything. It's not like he missed a timing or anything. Felt like he was mostly outplayed throughout the game.
Yeah. Well, I think he didn't look bad, but clearly this is a dance soO's done all too many times. He just held everything off, and you know,
very true.
I did like the get the corruptors out, mass up banelings, eliminate the tech. I don't know, maybe the colossi tech is a mistake. I'm not sure, but he you know, you have enough gases at that point in time. You can get an overwhelming amount of corruptors and kill them, and then there's basically no way to stop the broodlord push. All that Protoss could do was hope that he would be able to harass his way to a win, which basically never happens when Zerg's on 5 bases or 6 bases. They just remake the drones, you lose your army, and then you've never built up a big enough army to counter push.
Yeah. All right, Ice and Chrome is done. On to Everdream, see if Zoun can pick up a win here against soO.
Yeah, he'll need to. Don't forget, the winner of this goes on against Special to fight for the second slot in the round of 16 of the GSL Code S.
경기가 준비되었다. 한번 시작해볼까? 알파 X 조운 박한솔.
What else can you spell with those letters?
If you turn the Z sideways, noun.
You can't turn the letters side. It's cheating.
What? Who says?
아프리카 프릭스 수 어윤수.
A Z is just a sideways N.
Whoa. I guess that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Accept your
Can you
apology.
turn other letters into other letters?
Yeah, of course you
A
can.
C is a U.
A U is an, yeah, it can be a U, and it also can be an upside down lowercase n. W, guess what? 2 U's. Hence,
Or 2
double
V's.
U.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be 2 V's as well. That's right. Or an upside down M. The fancy kind or the sharp kind.
Yep. Depending on your font you're using.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is going to be a 2-0. I hate to take the hype out of this, but it would seem to me that this is going to be, I think, an easy series here for soO. I think soO's very strong in this matchup. He's got the experience.
Yeah.
You know, it's it's hard for Protoss to figure out some kind of way to ninja through a really good Zerg's defenses. And
Very true.
I think only the very best Protoss is, and this is why we've seen Zest do this time and time again, or players like SOS who are so crazy you just don't know what's going to happen, is they're able to continue to create illusions, and it's all shadows and mirrors and tricks, and you don't know where they're coming. They can fake out where they're going to attack, and they're unpredictable.
Let me put PvZ summarize it in some words here. So PvZ right now, it's not about finding someone who plays it well and then getting as good as them at it. Like, there was definitely periods like that with like
stats
and
Rain.
stats and Rain, where you could be like, okay, this is how you play PvZ, and then you just copy that and you get really good, and you can sometimes win against top players.
Right.
Right now, you have to actually add something your own to a PvZ build to get them. Like, you have to have this nice little sharp thing that the Zerg hasn't accounted for. This nice little turn that they weren't, they weren't waiting for. You have to be like, and this build that doesn't look like it has a Dark Shrine does have a Dark Shrine, or it's suddenly 2 oracles. And if you can't do that, it's kind of hard, right? Like, if you're just doing the Adept build over and over, it's like, well, soO can beat Zest when he does that, and it's his build. So, like, are you going to beat him with the exact build that Zest does when you're doing it and Zest isn't doing it? No. Add something else to that. I think you have to have something special in there. Maybe that was those Colossus.
I mean, I think the most standard, if you had to choose a build that's conservative, is maybe the Archon Harass we've seen, but even that usually has a DT surprise attack or something mixed in with it where, okay, I'm going to try to get him. I'm going to get you.
They love to get you.
Remember we were saying that for a while? I can't remember where this meme was. I think it started in my house. I was playing Hearthstone on my computer, and I was using the voice. I'm gonna get you this time, Tasteless.
Yeah, I love that. I use that. I imagine
Maybe
that's what people are saying to me on the line. I'm gonna get you, Artosis, when they're chasing my tank back or something.
Artosis, when I get you, you'll know that it's me.
Yes. All right. A couple more gates being added. So this is different from last time. So this is 4 gates right now. Glaives is just about to finish. This is going to be a more aggressive version, basically, of what we saw last game. And this is the type of thing I'm talking about, right? You have to have something in there that isn't just the same. So right now it looks exactly the same, right? He poked with 4 or 8 last time, and then he poked with 12, right? And he just keeps doing this, but this next warping round is going to be 6 more. It's going to be 14. And then after that, Tasteless, what are we going to have?
I don't know, Mr. Numbers. You tell me.
20 unless he loses one, then it's 19.
Woo! The question is, though, is it going to work?
Or he gets supply block like this and builds 2 pylons at once.
Oh, that's so bad. Oh, no. I feel bad for him now.
Yeah.
Because even though you're going to get the units a little bit later, like every Adept swoop in is an opportunity to try to throw the Zerg off and also get a read on what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think he might
he might finish that one.
Oh!
All right, there you have it. Actually brings up the Prism to warp into the main base. He is shading the other ones right now as well. All right, the Roach is coming down and chasing this, but a bunch of them going to go to the 3rd base. Look at this, 5 drones, 6 drones killed.
All right, nicely done. I got to say, this is starting to really add up. We're getting a lot of drone kills here.
But one of the problems with this is he's just got gateways right now. It's not like he has Immortals sitting at home. Yeah. So he's got to keep this going. He's got to keep it up. Yeah, he's killed a lot of drones. But if he has nothing after this, if he's literally just sitting there on his 38 workers and no additional tech, no upgrades, no 3rd base, is he, like, how far ahead is he, right? He's killed a lot of drones. We'll give him that, Tasteless. We can't deny him that.
I guess you're right. Our hands are tied there.
Yeah. I can't just make something up. That is 25 dead drones. But what I can tell you is all he has at home is a single Stalker and now 1 Immortal.
Yeah. Well, he went heavy into this harass over here. I mean, he's going to come in again. And I think we're going to see the twilight of this harass, really. There's not much more
Well,
that
when
can
you're
be
down
done.
to 5 adepts, you know, and they've got way more roaches and everything, and queens.
One thing as well about this is that, oh! It just crashes into the mountain. One thing as well about this is that you're diving your units onto their workers while their army's killing your army, your army that's harassing. So sometimes the counterpunch can be lethal.
Yeah, that is the problem, right? You give army for economy, but then they still have army. And the thing is, it's Zerg, so then they can build their economy again.
Yeah.
Right? They can just use a couple rounds and make the drones back. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you did do damage, but your follow-up, look at this follow-up. This is a very slow follow-up. If you go on the 4-gate harassment, right, you actually have a lot more than this right now because you haven't just been buying adepts and gateways. So right now, this is, you know, I mean, Zoun he's continuing this into an Immortal Sentry adept attack. So we'll see if he can get anything done with that. There's definitely a possibility that he can. But he's pretty darn all in.
He needs to be careful here.
Yeah,
I don't know about this line that he's chasing him with. Oh, man. Hey, you know what? Oh, my God.
Oh, that's a lot of adepts. Look at this. He's going to town.
I think soO might have overextended here.
Yeah, he may
He
have.
doesn't quite have enough. It looked like soO might have a lot that he could do with his counterattack, but this next wave, 23 more drones killed.
But you know what? We're in an interesting situation now. He's just dealt so much damage to soO's economy so many times. Maybe this attack does something now. Where's his prism?
Oh, yeah, that was killed,
Where
I
is
think,
it?
when he did the warp in. I think that's a new prism there, but I think the
is
old
it?
one that was over by the mountain in the upper right.
Oh, with no
Okay.
prism here, he
You know,
might
I'll
end
tell
up
you,
losing
man,
these.
I think that actually he had the possibility to come back. We're losing the 3
Yeah.
Immortals.
Well, if he had his prism right there, he would still have 3 Immortals.
Yeah. Well, this is just... I don't know what else to say. I mean, the counterattack, he should cancel that. And then, I mean, I think you're stuck on 2 bases for the foreseeable future, right?
Well,
I mean, there's...
we're going to call it 1 base pretty soon here as he's mine out. But yeah, like losing those Immortals, this is... goes from
that
bad
literally
to worse.
was the worst thing he could possibly do.
And the thing is, soO gave him an opportunity to possibly win this game. The first game, it didn't feel like he had any opportunity. But here, I think soO overextended, as you said. There was no 3rd base for him to attack. So the attack was kind of meaningless. Because if he can't hold, he's going to lose anyways.
Yeah.
In a macro game.
Right.
So yeah, I think the move out from soO was certainly unneeded. It got punished. But then suddenly his units are too far forward. It's too far away from his prism. He can't juggle Immortals. They get surrounded. They get biled. They're dead. And now he's sitting here once again trying to rebuild that. But we're 10 minutes into the game, and he's got 1 Immortal, dude. That's 10 minutes in.
No, that was too bad. You know, the harass did do damage. Everything he did was right, but, you know, especially when you move out with that main army, sometimes you got to slow down. When you're doing this adept harass, there's so much stuff going on. Yeah. You're having to make all these quick decisions and keep warping in. It's actually pretty tough for the Protoss. Obviously hard for the Zerg as well, but then when you have this push coming, you got to be very careful with that army. Because Zerg just caught it, killed it, and I think we're close to the GG point here.
We are. We're at the GG.
We are at we might be post GG. We might be in a post GG era. Okay, now we're officially in that.
All right. Zoun goes out. But you know what? He did give himself a lot more opportunities that game.
I think
didn't work out for him.
Yeah, and look, this is a pro gamer from League and Overwatch in the recent years.
Was he actually pro level at those games?
This is just what they said before we went live to us, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that's what we were told.
But yeah, he was on SK before in Starcraft 2 as well.
Right. I mean, look, he's a good player, and I think we'll see more of him. And I don't think this comes down to nerves. I think, honestly, the 2 players he played against are the best at what they did to beat him. You know, soO holding pushes, and
it's like
Zest
they're
and
both
PvP.
top 3 in their race. So
yeah.
There
I don't think we got to see.
That's tough group.
I would have liked to have seen him against, you know, one of our other players who's maybe not at the highest caliber and see how he does. So this means we have a rematch, soO versus Special, and we'll be going to that after this short break.